What is up, everybody? Say hi in the chat, and I will attempt to pronounce your usernames. We got Electric Indro. Yep, what's up? Karipos, Maneth, Tufank. We have David, SQ, etc., etc. All right. It's been a while since I've started one of these. Got a new camera, but let's get started. So essentially, this is the live UI UX review show, sometimes called Negative Space, and where I take a look at your designs that you submit in a Discord server. And by the way, instructions for doing so are in the YouTube description. So expand that description, learn how to do it, and I will take a look at your designs, mainly UI UX designs, although I will do logo designs as well. And I'll give you improvements. Sometimes I'll do a refactor real quick if it's in Figma, and also we'll do a rating on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the worst, 10 being the best. All right, so let's get started. We already have a lot that is submitted. So these are all submitted here within the last about 35-40 minutes. I announced it early, so if you do want to get in early on the queue, you have to join my Discord server, assign the stream ping role, and that way you can idle in there, and then I'll make a news announcement usually 30 to 60 minutes before I start these, and then people hurry up and submit so they can get early in on the queue. All right, so let's get started with the first one. I haven't taken a look at any of these yet, so they're going to be brand new to me. All right, so we have a Figma design right here. Okay, actually, kind of strange because I believe I've already reviewed this. I'm not sure. This is from one of my live streams before. I think perhaps what they've done possibly is improve it. So maybe this was the first one, and then this is a second one, a little bit better here, and then a third one. All right, so for me personally, I like this third one the best. One thing that I would do real quickly is reinforce that type visual hierarchy. And so what I mean by that is we'll do it before and after real quick. We're going to take all these descriptions and we're going to make them a little bit smaller and maybe a regular font size. There we go. So now we've created a real good visual hierarchy between the title, which is bolder and larger, and then this one here, you can really see a clear separation, a difference between the two pieces of type. So that's what you want. This is pretty close to it. It is a little bit of a lesser thickness, and it's a little bit smaller, but we want to have a larger discrepancy between the two. You could especially see that in this original. Notice how you could really, there's hardly a difference at all. You don't want that. All right. Next up, we're not going to bother with a rating for that one. Next up is right here, DD Donuts. All right. All right, let's check this out. Okay. DD Donuts. All right, home ingredients, famous donut shop. I don't have too much of a problem. Logo is a little bit muted, being that gray color. I'd probably make that just straight up black, but that's okay. That's a very tiny gripe. Right here, though, I wouldn't have this space. I can see there's a space right here. You want these on the same exact column. Other than that, pretty solid here. Probably reduce that leading or the line height slightly because it looks like they're pretty far apart, but that's a small gripe. Call to action, secondary call to action, separated well. I like the little watermark, type-based watermark here. All right, like the icons. This is separated well. Nice photograph, breaking outside of the box here. Simple. All very solid. Yep, good design right here. 1 being the worst, 10 being the best. What do you all think this person deserves for a rating? So for me, I'm going to give this is a pretty solid design. I think I'll give this a flat 8.0. Yeah. Very solid. Somebody said 5. It's a lot better than a 5, trust me. You must have seen some of the designs that come through here. All right. Awesome. Oh, by the way, I forgot to do this. So we need to do this and get this out of the way. That I might rate a 4 or 5. All right, time to take a break from the reviews. Now, chances are, if you're watching this video, you probably want to be a better designer. And if that's the case, how much do you really want it? Because at DesignCourse.com, I've created a UI UX course that will help you go from designing layouts that I might rate a 4 or 5 up to 8 and beyond. But more important than that, as a better designer, this means that you can land higher paying clients and jobs. This course includes over 16 hours of video, 40 interactive UI design tests, and even mentorship, where I personally take a look at your work that you submit, I review it, and many times I also revise it, providing you with great feedback to help you become a better designer. Now, during this stream only, you can use the coupon code STREAM22 at checkout to get 22% off. Now, you better hurry up because at the end of this stream, I will deactivate this coupon. All right, let's get back to it. All right, awesome. So make sure to take advantage of that offer, STREAM22, before the stream ends, and you'll get 22% off at DesignCourse.com. All right, next up, Unreal, add in live stream. Oh my God. That is just so unreal. Next up is Akasoft. Akfasoft. I think that's how it's pronounced. All right. All right, so first thing, let's take a look at this logo. Oh, let me turn on my little magnifying app real quick. There we go. So this logo, first of all, you want to have more white space at the top. Notice how much white space you have here, but you have just a tiny bit right here. So you want to make sure you have equal white space on the top and bottom for centering this logo. And I would say also the ready for the future, this little slogan right here is a little bit too small. And also, I wouldn't right align it, I would left align it along this icon if you are to keep it. But for me personally, I would probably just scrap it because it's really, really tiny. Home, about, features, services, I really like this section. It works well. My dog just came in. Natalie, you got to close that door.
I did.
All right, no, get the dog out and close the door.
Chase, go.
Unreal. All right. So yeah, this is actually really solid. I like the navigation. Hire us. I actually like that as well. The blue sort of shadow. Get ready for your tech future. All right. Good type that's established here. Primary call to action, secondary call to action, very good as well. I'd probably try to maybe, I don't know. It feels like there's a lot of white space between here in this section and over here. So I would try to maybe extend this a little bit more to the right to fill up this area a little bit more. All right, looking at everything else, good section right here. Yep, perfect for the most part. The icons are a little bit different. So look at the thickness of this icon versus the thickness like of this one. This one's a little bit thicker. So you really want to stick with, I do understand though they're using the React logo, so you probably can't modify that. But anyhow, yeah, these icons are all consistent in this area. This is very solid. Wow, we started off with two really good designs here. One being the worst, 10 being the best. What do you all think this person should get for a rating? I will wait for your answers. All right, so for me, I'm going to give this, again, this is another, it's very similar to the quality found in the other one, maybe like an 8.0 or 8.1. It seems like a lot of you agree with that, or even a 9. So yeah, very solid. I would fix that logo though. All right, the almighty one. All right, let us see what is happening. So if I were you, I would probably do something like this with those little forward slashes in the navigation. You can keep those, but I don't think they should be high contrast. Like I personally would take each one of these and probably make them a little bit more muted like that. All right, that way they're not contrasting so much. You want the actual links to be the thing that stands out the most, in my opinion. Logo font, I would say that should be scaled down a bit. Maybe make that bold as well, or at least semi-bold. There we go. Yeah, maybe semi-bold because it is quite bold from the original. All right, so that's a little bit better. Your section right here is pretty good, but I would probably make some adjustments. So for this, let me get rid of, well, there was an auto layout. There we go. We'll get rid of that auto layout so I can make adjustments. So I'd probably move this up a little bit up here. That way we separate, you know, this little label and the headline from the description. And then probably take these buttons down here as well. If I could grab them. Everything's in a group. Ungroup. That's in a group as well. There we go. And then there we go. So I think that's a little bit better. Might scale this down as well. Yep, something like that I think is pretty solid. And then we could take this and we could probably even make it bigger. All right. Next up. All right. So this gets a little bit confusing just because of the nature of this large thumbnail with all of the different UI pages shown in it. And I'm not sure why it's like that. It seems like you already have your portfolio example here with the thumbnail on the left and your description on the right, but then you have just like a big block. I'm not sure if it relates to that or what that is. So I might opt to just get rid of that. You know, I think a cooler way to potentially approach this is we could do something like, let's see here. Well, yeah, I would extend them out probably 100%, but then we could do like a white area like right here, and then take this type, put it on top, put it like right there, and then have your labels and stuff underneath it in that context, and also pull these out all the way. There you go. That way you see more of the thumbnail. You have a lot of white space right here, and then you can take your tags and stuff and put them underneath, and maybe with a call to action like visit project or view case study or something like that. I think that would be a good way to show the projects. Outside of that, tell me a little about the project. I'd probably move this down. There we go. See, this was too close where it was before. You want to move that stuff down. Otherwise, pretty good. All right, so the original over here. What do you guys think this person should get for a rating? 1 being the worst and 10 being the best. I only have time just to do a rating, by the way, and a review of just the home page. I know there's other pages here, but there's a lot of other people waiting. I skipped somebody's submission. Typical. I'll check that out in a second. All right, so for me, I'm going to give this a rating of like a 6.5, 6.8 or so, almost a 7. Yeah, I think that's pretty fair. All right. By the way, any of you are considering joining DesignCourse, make sure you do so before the stream ends. Stream 22 will get you 22% off. All right, continuing on. Okay, so what I see here initially is a lot of high contrast. I've seen this design before. I forget where. Or I've seen that logo, I think. First of all, the logo is way too small. That should be filling up that black area a lot more. Second of all, I did a video on this recently. It appears very blocky just because you have a high contrast black with a high contrast red and then a high contrast and then white. So you have a lot of high contrast, big block areas. Same thing with the footer. So you see red and black stripes and white everywhere. I would probably reduce that a little bit because that will improve the the blockiness of the design. Outside of that, this add to cart hover state's kind of strange. Usually when you hover over something, you want to highlight it, not make it darker. At least the text, you don't want to make the text darker. So keep the text white instead of that gray when you hover over it. Cards. Yeah, again, like the hover state, I would improve. Like I want to do a gray color on hover. It just doesn't look that good. What you could do is just a very light red, which would make it almost like a pink or something. Very light though. I think that would work better. All right. 1 being the worst, 10 being the best. What do y'all think this person should get for a rating? Also, yeah, you can probably increase the white space a little bit, vertically speaking. Oh my God! Check out the YouTube YouTube description for instructions on how to upload your design, or share it rather. So yeah, you get a timeout for spamming. For this, I'm just going to get a straight up like 6.0 or 6.2 or so. It's simple. There's not major issues in terms of readability or anything like that. But some areas definitely need to be improved, like this logo and the color choices, I think, overall. Yeah. Awesome. All right, so continuing on. Somebody said I skipped them. Did I? No, I didn't. Okay. All right, next up is Moreno. How long have we been streaming for? Checking this out. Oh, 20 minutes. Okay. Alrighty. Like the type. What font is that? Playfair Display. Okay. Very nice. A Playfair Display is a very nice choice for a serif font on the web. I like the logo. Very cool. Navigation. Slightly large. I would probably like to see that instead of 30. Let's see here. I think that's, yeah. No, I'm right. I'm wrong. I would probably, let's see, it's maybe just a few font sizes smaller. Although it's pretty good as is though. I'm being a little bit picky. Yeah, all this section very nice so far. Cards designed well. You can see we have 3 elements: a date, title, description, all styled differently. This area is feeling a little bit muted just because, well, it's a monochromatic theme, but I really don't like this mid-gray. I would do something differently, either make that lighter or make it a much darker. I like these cards. subtle icons here, kind of as a watermark. Works well. Yeah. Awesome. 1 being the worst, 10 being the best. What y'all think? Yes, that's Poppins in conjunction with Playfair Display. So for this, yeah, I'm going to give it like a 7.8. I think that's fair. First UX design project for my portfolio. I'd love to get my feedback. Let's check this one out. Not exactly where I should start. All right, so let's take a look at the onboarding process here. So first you have the logo, and then you have a welcome, which is kind of strange. This is redundant. I would just put the logo over here at the top, and then that way you have your login, sign up, and skip. Now, the problem with your login, sign up, and skip, well, there's multiple problems. First, I wouldn't put them stacked on top of each other like this. And also, you need to differentiate these designs in some context. So skip, you're essentially designing and placing the same exact importance on sign up and login, but you don't really want people to skip. Your goal is to get people to join your app so you have their email so that you can then spam them at least, right? So the skip button should not be designed the same. So you need to rethink about how you're approaching this layout. And I would honestly say you'd be the perfect candidate for joining DesignCourse.com because you're going to learn all about how to lay out things correctly and also in ways that look good. See, I did my own little spam thing there. Because I think you kind of have to go back to the drawing board, at least with what I see with these login screens right here so far. Because just for continue or sign up, it's just like the way you've laid these out is just wrong, to be blunt. I'm just being honest. Now this page isn't quite as bad. It's not. It's actually, it makes a lot more sense in terms of how you structured the content and the layout. But up here, this onboarding process is, I would say, yeah, a big no-no. I'm not going to bother with the writing though. Just there's so many screens here, and I could go on and on, I'm sure. But this page is definitely your better page in terms of the design. But up here we have some issues. All right, let's continue on. It is so nice outside today. It's like going to be 83. And then what sucks is tomorrow, 83 Fahrenheit that is. What sucks is tomorrow it's just going to get cold again. Ugh. I can't wait for actual summer. All right. Oh, there's something wrong with this water. I did not mean to drink this stupid water. Get out of here. That's the water I want. There we go. All right. So this design would look better if I didn't have the browser maximized. So if I go like this, it's kind of framed a little bit better. But when I do extend it, you know, almost full screen on a 4K monitor or resolution, there's issues with white space, excessive white space down here. So what you would want to do is use your CSS knowledge of the grid or Flexbox to make sure that this right here is centered between the start of up here and all the way down here. All right. So this needs to be vertically centered based on the viewport height up here. All right. So continuing on, maybe I can let's translate this. Creator of stunning experiences. There we go. I like the colors. And I like this kind of very simple abstract overlapping of elements here as well. This is a good approach too for your light and dark mode. I like that. My experience is I would take both of these pieces of type right here and left align them right here. I wouldn't center them. Now for me personally, when it comes to tags like this, I'm not a fan of using multiple colors, at least in this context. Let me see what that looks like though. See, it's a little bit better on light mode, but dark mode I kind of don't like it because they contrast quite a bit. They're a little bit better in this context because they're more like pastel colors. I could just make them like a light blue, like all of them. This date is a little strange. I don't like the placement of it. It's just slightly like it's gray, but this one's not. I would try to separate those out differently. You probably would want to add a little bit more white space on top of it. All right, good cards here. Like the subtle scroll animations. Got glass morphism. Pretty good, yeah. Very solid. Although you want to capitalize the N in name since it's email, and I wouldn't put e-mail. That's a little bit strange. Message is good. All right. 1 being the worst, 10 being the best. What do y'all think this person should get? And by the way, I would not put your age. That's just going to scare potential clients. People make judgment calls. I remember being like 13 and 14 and doing that and then getting mad, you know. Like, trust me, people have they judge based on your age, not your work. So don't put your age when you're real young. All right. No, super chats are just for appreciation now. I was getting so many super chats that the regular people who didn't super chat, they hardly ever got their designs reviewed. So for me, I am going to give this a rating of 7.5 or so, or 7.8. Seems like you guys are disagreeing with me, some of you at least. Yeah, I think like 7.8, almost an 8. Yeah, maybe an 8. You guys are influencing me a little bit. All right. Okay, how long have I been streaming? I have been streaming for 29 minutes. All right, so this time I'm not going to just play some random ad. I'm going to talk about and show you some stats from DesignCourse.com. So check this out. This is our live stats panel for DesignCourse for my UI UX course. And what this means is essentially we have 2,159 students, and most of those were generated from January 4th and on. So about 4 months so far, 2,159 people. We also have actively currently 142 mentor students where I look at your work literally and I provide written feedback, a rating, and also most of the time I'll actually do a revision or revisions to help improve your design so that you understand where you can improve with your designs. And what that looks like is this panel right here. So I go through all these. These are all the people waiting for submissions, or for reviews rather. And so let's just check one out randomly. So I'm going to open up their design based on a challenge that's in the curriculum. And for this particular challenge, they have design and navigation. So all this stuff is already there for them in the template for Figma. And they were simply tasked with creating, all the rules are right here, a navigation that works well and fits within the context of this particular design. So we have 12 different challenges like this. And some of them are really simple, and then the final one you have to design a whole design from scratch, and I review it. So this person actually did a pretty good job, and what I would do is probably tell them that they probably get near a 10, yeah, because they've executed it perfectly. and it fits within the context of this design. Some people really botch this up, and I can only give them like a 3 out of 10. But yeah, and then I just respond to them, give a rating, a quote, and then a URL if I provided a revision, and then they receive it via email. So one of the best ways to get better is just to have me as your mentor. So join up, consider using the code STREAM22. If you're in a country like India or the Philippines or something like that, we have over like 40 or 50 different countries that qualify for parity pricing. So you may get up to 40% off, which you can apply at checkout. So check out DesignCourse.com if you want to learn UI UX in an interactive setting. Okay, next up, let's get started. That was a very fine advertisement, I have to say. All right. Let's continue on. All right. So, this one, we have a light and dark mode. You want to use cursor pointer in your CSS because you're currently not doing that. Or anything that can be clicked, you should be changing the icon. Looking at this, the best toothpicks made from tree flesh. What? Tree flesh. That was a little strange. I'm not sure if I want to put tree flesh in my mouth. I don't know. I might word that differently. All right. Outside of that, we do have an issue here, though. See products. I'm not sure what happened to this area. I'm going to assume you didn't have that intention for... Yeah, so obviously, it should just be... the button should look like this over here. One line and none of this stuff happening. So I'm going to assume you probably didn't have that intention. Let's scroll down. All right, so this area of type definitely needs some work. Let me see here. If I hit F12, maybe I can quickly... I need to mute that phone. Well, it's going to be a little bit difficult for me to make adjustments, but where it says our firstborn, that should be smaller than it is because it's right now it's competing in terms of hierarchy with the headline. So this area right here should be smaller type. And then this right here needs more leading or line height, and I would also probably push it down further away from this right there. Outside of that, continuing on, I like the Shop Now button's good. I'm not too fond of how you're laying these out. This is a little strange, like being left aligned and then right aligned. It kind of leaves just like a big old empty gap in the middle. I would rethink that approach personally. Cards are pretty good here. Now, for me personally, I would probably take this. Let's see if I can make this adjustment. I would take this background color and just make it maybe something like that. Very, subtle dark gray on the black background. And then your email and your text fields here, I would change those colors as well, honestly. I'm not sure. Let me see here. Background color. Maybe something even to like that instead. That way, your send message button really stands out, as the call to action. All right. 1 being the worst, 10 being the best. What do y'all think this person should get for a rating? Thank you very much, Rishaba, for the super chat. Awesome stuff. All right, so for me, I'm going to give this a rating of probably just like a flat almost like a 7, very close to a 7, close to a 7. All right. Next up is right here. All right, we have issues. All right, so first of all, you're not utilizing your space effectively here. So you definitely want to utilize more of your space, especially on desktop. This would work, in terms of this small width container on a phone or a tablet, but not on desktop. You don't want to have all this massive area right here. Second, your headline needs definitely work. Just having your name, there's so many things I could say about this. This is going to take a while for this particular design. Never have just your name for your headline. Use actual ad copy to really do something different rather than just stating your name. There's not enough white space at all between this element and this element and this element. You want to space things out further, and you want this headline to be a lot bigger. My favorite technologies, it's so tiny, it's a little bit strange, and you're also containing it within, unnecessarily so, a scroll. People don't want to have to work, so you don't want extra work. So I would say you need to go back to the drawing board and don't put your age as well. Another person putting their very young age, nobody cares. You need to go back to the drawing board with your UI design. I have free courses here on YouTube for UI design for 2022, 2021, 2020. Watch all of those. And then also, I'm not sure exactly where you are from. Let me see if it... Okay, you don't specify where you're from. Oh, Cambodia. I think you're in a country that qualifies for parity pricing for DesignCourse.com, so you can get a lot off, and then you can take the course as well. So I'm not going to bother with a rating for this. I know it's going to be on the lower end, but I do think you need to start from scratch with this and really watch a bunch of tutorials on UI design. And it's not just for me. There's a lot of other great UI design teachers out there. All right, continuing on. All right, big issue here. I talked about this in one of the other reviews that I just did. You want to center this vertically. You also want texture. There's just too much white space, just complete whiteness. There's so many different things you could do with the background. I think using full photographs for backgrounds, that's kind of a dated approach, like a watermark, but you could do some sort of like very simple watermark illustration or something like that just to break up the large space of whiteness. So you definitely want to fix that. Projects, all right, so this section's a little bit better. I would like to see maybe use a very, very, very almost white, like a light gray background, and then that way your cards can have a white background, although these are just thumbnails. But notice, like, if you put Google, which is a little strange, like, don't include Google or a Google clone in your portfolio. I personally wouldn't do that. You want real projects as much as possible, real projects. I would also say your hover state with this pink doesn't contrast enough with the type that sits on top of it. Use a darker color so you really establish better contrast. And you could also make them larger based on the size of these large thumbnails as well, the text that is. And you don't want to do this where it says the message is all the way full screen. It looks strange. It's going to be hard to use with this send button. Put this into 2 columns and then put your secondary contact information in the right column, like your phone. And you want people to be able to contact you any way possible. Put your phone, put your email, put your Skype, put your Discord, whatever. You want people to be able to contact you and give them as many ways as possible if you actually want work. All right, 1 being the worst, 10 being the best. What do y'all think this person should get for a rating? Yeah, the Shure SM7B, I still have that microphone, but I didn't like how big and bulky it was and inside the screen. So right above me is a Audio Technica 4053B. It's a $600 shotgun mic. I love it though. It's out of the screen. All right, so for me, I'm going to give this a rating of maybe just like a 4 or 5. You could easily improve this area a lot more though with the advice. Hopefully you take action on said advice. All right. Okay. Font is strange. It looks very, it's okay. It's okay to use strange fonts sometimes like this, but you have to use it sparingly. You're using it on your logo, your navigation, your headline, and your buttons, and it just becomes too much. You could use it on the headline, but that's the only place I would use it. I would use a different, more traditional font like Poppins or maybe even another condensed font like this, because this is slightly condensed. But you want it to be a simple font, not one where, you know, it has all these crazy lines within. It makes it a little bit weird looking and difficult to read. So take that into consideration. I could see it looks like you're kind of scaling, yeah, you're scaling things up real big right here at this point. And so I think you probably could get away with scaling down a little bit more of the type in this context, because this area, like the button's huge. So think about that. Mercury is way too large of type in my opinion. You could do that if it was like a watermark and really low contrast, like a non-important element, just as a way to add texture. But this is obviously clearly a higher contrast title, so I would scale that down. It's just too large and in your face. Oh, that's a big no-no. So I was assuming if I clicked in name, you know, it would highlight this big text field. But unfortunately, look how small that text field is. It's like this tiny little thing. You don't want that, all right? So you definitely want to make this more accessible for people. 1 being the worst, 10 being the best. Let me know what you think. And also this sticky nav, if you're gonna have a sticky nav that stays there on scroll, you need to add a background so that this doesn't happen, and then you get lost and you can't really see the type. For me, I'm gonna give this a rating of just around 4. All right. Whoever submitted this would be a perfect candidate for DesignCourse.com. So consider joining. You're going to get a lot better. Any excuse to spam, I know. All right. Dev Kumar. Gary, this is an NFT website. I wonder when those NFTs are just going to crash big time, because you know what? They're going to. All right. Alrighty. Because this is in Figma, I can make an edit to this, to the type area. So first of all, I would probably take this and put it right there. That makes more sense. It follows a line, or it follows a, what do you call? I'll show you. It follows a column that's established by the type above it. All right, this being off to the side just looks, it's like it's randomly placed. You don't want that. Second, I would probably take this little logo, put it right there as well, and move it up, and maybe scale it down slightly. All right, so we're going from there, from here to here. So now things are just kind of aligned better. One problem though is you have an inconsistent amount of alignment from right here. In this section, you have a tiny amount of white space rather, and a large over here. So you want to make sure that you get things centered. There we go, much better. All right. Next up, I'm not too certain about what's happening here. Maybe take that down. Maybe even more, so it's not quite as in your face. Let me put that, make sure it's inside of here. Maybe even take this blur, make it a larger blur. Kind of like that better. It breaks up the amount of black that's here. That's why I made it larger, but also made it less contrast as well, so it doesn't take up too much. I may even go lighter on that, like 25% or something. We could duplicate it even, make it smaller, increase it, this one to like 60, or we could try 90. But also take the blur down back to 150. Yep, something like that, potentially. I'm just playing around. And I think this would be a good quick refactor that you can integrate for this particular design. All right, awesome. We're not going to bother with a rating. I don't have enough time to go through all of your designs, unfortunately. Other people are waiting. All right, continuing on. Why are people checking off designs that I clearly did not rate? Like, why would you guys do that? Because you're, all right, I'm not gonna call people names. Don't do that, Gary. All right. My memory is good enough to know that I didn't review this yet, so. All right. Yeah, I understand what they're doing because they're trying to get me to get to their designs. In fact, I should check their names and then just skip them. All right. This logo is unfortunately atrocious. I have my most popular video on YouTube has nothing to do with UI UX design. It has to do with logo design. I have a 3-hour identity design crash course that's on my channel. It has, like, last I checked, it was well over 2 million views. If you watch that, and if this is your logo, which I assume it is, you're going to be able to produce way better logos. So I'm not going to go into how this could be improved, but just know that that logo design, identity design course is available for free on my YouTube channel. I want you to check that out. Next up, we're seeing a lot of this new aesthetic, this brutalism aesthetic lately. High contrast, maximum contrast, thick borders with also kind of like this little subtle drop shadow here to where it's thicker on this end. So that's a relatively new aesthetic, or it's not new aesthetic, but it's becoming popular, which is okay. I do think it feels like there's too many buttons around here. You don't want to, I would say you probably don't want to style your sign up with Google and Apple exactly the same way as these text fields, because semantically they're different. These are buttons and then these are text fields. So you probably want to change that around and figure out how to separate those a little bit better. Alignment is a little strange here. We have a left align, what's your interest, with strange caps not being utilized on what's, and then center aligned is right here. And so we have inconsistent alignment and text justification. So you want to improve that for sure. If you want to, you can just center everything, put this at the top and just center everything straight down here. And you can also left align everything as well. All right, just for what this is, 1 being the worst, 10 being the best, what do you all think this person deserves for a rating? Yeah, maybe the logo is meant to be brutal. No, this dark, high contrast yet soft drop shadows. Yeah, that's this. This is more like late '90s approach. All right. So for me, I'm gonna, and what this is, I'm going to rate this a maybe like a 5.6 or so. Yeah, 5.5, something like that. The type is readable. That's one of the most important elements. Although the sign in and password button, I'm not sure about that. That doesn't contrast enough. All right, continuing on. All right, so who did I just do? Yeah, I just did that one. Here we go. Now we need to do this one. Let's see how long we've been streaming for. 48 minutes. We'll be doing this for a little bit more. All right, CryptoJet. Cryptocurrency exchanges. I like the hover states, buy, sell, good call to action up here. All right, we have texture by having these little icons, the soft, big sort of orbs here in the background. Also these little subtle lines. So this is a good way just to make it, you know, a section like this, instead of just making it pure white, we give it texture to make it a little bit more interesting. So that's good. I would say though, it's unnecessary to dedicate this amount of space, vertical space, for just a headline and a description. So I would push this stuff up and probably reduce by 50% the amount of vertical height you're giving this area right here. I'm not sure why there's all this. Maybe this is a work in progress, but there's obviously a big empty space down here. But for what this is, the design here is pretty good here. The way you've designed this section over here. So yeah, pretty solid for what it is. Looks like it's unfinished. I'm not going to bother with a rating just so we can get a little bit quicker here. All right, next up is this one, Peacekeeper. All right. I would shift this animation, this illustrated animation, over to the right more because it is quite close to this type. The type here is big and bold. It's good. It's probably Poppins, and it is. I would, by the way, I can see this section up here. You're using, it's almost like a gray. I would make those completely white, and then find a way to designate the current home page, which you could simply just underline it. I mean, the current page, which in this case is home. You could just simply underline it, and that's one good thing. Now, one thing I don't like is the hover state changing almost the entire design and having like a high contrast background. I would do something like a low contrast, slightly lighter version of this blue that it's sitting on. All right, so one thing I don't like, this for me, whenever you have two columns, so we have an illustration and then we have some text to the right of it, which, by the way, this who we are should be up here. It's down too far. Whenever you have two columns though, and you have like a heading above it, don't center that heading. It just throws off the flow of the layout. I would left align it over here, and yeah, left align both of the pieces of type. Now, these illustrations are quite large. I would scale those down quite a bit and make sure that this is, you know, aligned appropriately in conjunction with where this illustration sits. I like the colors. This section here is pretty good. Good card design. I actually like this section over here. It's not too overbearing of a yellow. So yeah, it's pretty solid. This all looks here pretty solid. Now I wouldn't do this. I wouldn't put in placeholder values because my name isn't Khan Asfis Riza or whatever. So don't put that. People understand what an email is, so you don't have to put in an example, and you don't have to put this either. So remove all three of those placeholder values. All right, 1 being the worst, 10 being the best. What do y'all think this person should get for a rating? I see a couple of people have taken advantage of the Stream 22 offer. So definitely consider joining. I'm going to deactivate that coupon at the end of this stream, which is going to occur in about 5 minutes. So definitely consider joining DesignCourse.com with Stream 22. So for me, I'm going to give this a rating. There's really good illustrations, some really solid areas. So I'm going to give this like a 7.3 or so. All right, that was Peacekeeper, I believe. Max Payne. All right, so your two buttons here, create account and sign in. Again, they're styled exactly the same. I would probably emphasize the create account and de-emphasize the sign in. So that means make the sign in like background, maybe just a low contrast version of that blue, or just find a way to put the priority or the visual hierarchy emphasis on this element here of create account. And I cannot click on anything. I guess I could just use my arrow keys. Looking at this, so I'm not a fan right now of the color choices. This pinkish color and this blue, it kind of looks strange. I would make sign up a little bit larger as well. What are you looking for? Looking for joining a band, looking for new members. So this is uninspiring. It's just kind of very boring and bland. Use icons or something like that to make it a little bit more interesting. This page is a little bit better. So there's spacing issues in your type. There's not enough white space between these different elements. And everything's kind of crammed together, especially this area right here. So you want to utilize white space a little bit more to separate these things out vertically. Also, same thing, going and interested, these should be styled differently. All right. What I mean differently is like differently from each other. They shouldn't both be styled exactly the same. All right, 1 being the worst, 10 being the best. What do y'all think this person should get for a rating? So I usually do these once every 2 weeks, and honestly, I don't have a scheduled day. Now, if you join DesignCourse.com, we do have bi-weekly, which is every 2 weeks, a live UI UX workshop. And obviously, there's a lot fewer people. Usually, there's only like 15 people there during a Zoom stream, and I take a look at everything everybody wants me to look at. So if you really want my feedback, consider joining Design Course and adding on Mentor as well. So for me, I'm going to give this a rating of probably like a 5.8 or so. Or 6 or so. Yep. Seems like you guys are agreeing for the most part. All right. We're going to do, how long have I been streaming? 1 more. All right. So I'm I'm going to translate this. All right. That's sort of cool, making it grow, essentially. So this is a fairly simple, very minimalistic design. I kind of like it. Places the emphasis on this interactive donation area. This is pretty good here, although I'm not sure why there's a big amount of empty white space. Seems like maybe you could put these in columns and fill out this area 3 and 3 because there's 6 of them. Pretty solid otherwise. I'm not going to bother with the rating though. We are going to conclude, but definitely consider joining DesignCourse.com. So if you go here, and also depending on where you're from, actually let me get an incognito window, DesignCourse.com. You go here, and I'll leave the coupon up for a little bit while after the stream, but you can join now. Now, of course, it says $99 US. That if you use and create an account first and go to the billing page, you can apply Stream 22, which will take 22% off that amount. And of course, if you're in a different country, you can get up to as much 40% off, and that can be applied at the billing page as well. So the actual curriculum looks like this. If I show you the curriculum, oops, wait, I'm not logged in there. There we go. So this is what the curriculum looks like. So we have all these chapters with a bunch of modules. And by the way, when you finish the course, you get an actual live certificate that's hosted on DesignCourse.com. And these are all the different modules. We have 4 different module types. We have an actual course module. So there's courses worked within this course, if that makes sense. And we also have simple videos modules. We also have tests, which are interactive UI tests that you can actually take to try to improve your ability to spot bad design, like white space certainly should be improved. Look at that. So we have, I think, I forget how many of these tests we have, but we have dozens upon dozens of these fun tests. And then finally, we also have submissions, project challenges right here. So you can take these, even if you're not a part of Mentor, and just try to improve your designs. And you can join the Discord server. We have an exclusive Discord server for members only, and you can gain feedback that way. But if you join Mentor, I will actually provide you with a review. As you can see, a fake review right here. And that way you can improve way better. So Stream 22 at the checkout, and you'll get 22% off. I hope to see all of you next time I do this. Look out for more videos, of course, which I do usually at least twice a week. And I will see you all very soon. All right, see you later.